Yeah.
I'm in the man cave. That's the only quiet place in my house.
Yeah, I totally get. Well, we decided to host a foreign exchange student. So we had a basement room, but now we have a teenager, which has been a whole nother, we just have toddlers. Our oldest is 8. So to throw in a teenager in the mix has been an experience. A good one. But yeah.
You
So
got a glimpse of the future.
oh Lord, yes. Yes, yes. He has a serious girlfriend, so it has been
Oh
on the job
boy,
training for certain.
that's so funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. So it looks like we still have quite a few people popping in here, so
Sure.
I'll give it a few minutes for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I see Professor Krieger has popped in. She's actually been my mentor, which has been
Oh,
a
that's
wonderful
awesome.
experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah, they're
Katie.
so important.
I see
It's
so many of my
great.
students. I'm so happy.
Oh,
Oh,
Thanks
that's
for
great.
good.
inviting us.
That's great. Yes.
Yeah.
And Kezia, who I see over there, she actually introduced the First Lady when she came to our school a couple weeks ago.
Wow, what a cool opportunity. I would have been knees buckled.
I think she
But that's
was.
so awesome. Yeah, I bet so.
It
That's so
was
cool.
really exciting. Yeah, it was really a great opportunity.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
yeah, it looks good. I'm
Yeah,
glad a lot of people are popping in here.
yeah, this is great.
We've been having like really good attendance for like a lot of the leadership um events. So I'm really happy. 'Cause I mean, the thing is that I know people are so busy, especially like student
Yeah.
parents. You've got like essentially 3 jobs,
Oh
school,
man.
parenthood, and
Mhm.
like your job. I mean,
Yeah.
often, I mean, even if
Right.
you didn't have a job and you're just doing parenting and school, that's
Oh,
still a lot.
a
Um,
lot.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm always like, I have a cat, and wow, just like, oh my
I know.
goodness.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. People are like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, my cat's like my child. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think it's the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's not the same because I have 3 animals as well as 3 children. And my kids are all, teenagers. Actually, my daughter's 27,
Yeah.
and my animals love me still.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
It's not
Yeah.
the
They don't
same.
come home late. Yeah.
But you also can't put your kids on a timer. You can't do the whole timer thing. Like, you can't put a little bowl on the ground and put a timer on it and just kind of like walk away. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Andreas just asked me where we would be able to find a recording of this.
It's supposed to be on the campus website, but if I can't, I can send it to them. I can send it to them.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for that question, Andreas.
Yeah.
All right. So
Here.
I'll give it till like 7:05 because it looks like we still have a few people popping in
Oh yeah, I see. Look
This
at
is
the chat.
awesome.
before we start. Yeah. Actually, while I'm doing that, let me do this. I So for everyone that's here, I'm actually going to post this poll in the chat. And if you wouldn't mind taking a little time just to fill it out, it's not a very long poll, but it's actually for the research that I'm doing for what supports we could provide to student parents to help them be successful, other than the supports that we already have in place, which we already do have some tremendous supports at Bergen in place. But I'm just looking. You'll see why in a little bit when I start to talk about why we need to research it a little more.
Yeah,
But
we want to be able to do more for everybody, like more for student parents. You don't think like, oh, someone has a child. You don't think that way. And also too, just like once you transfer to another institution, like what resources are there, and just kind of like letting people know, like, student parents are part of the population and should be considered when it's, class, oh, I always thought like, oh, if you have a child or something like that, in regards to class times and things like that, like that should be taken into consideration. It shouldn't just be like, oh, we're gonna treat everybody the same. But everybody's not the same. That's not how equity works. And I talk too much. I'm gonna stop talking.
That's okay. I actually
Katie.
had some, I am, so since I have been promoting this, I have had some students come to me and we've had an open dialogue about some of the things. And actually one student had brought up to me, she has a child that is in and out of the hospital recently, and a professor was not very forgiving with that. But, and it's just, those are the things I think that need to be considered sometimes, that, when a parent spends all night in the hospital and then has to go to work on top of, and try to get classwork done, there should be a little leeway, So that I thought was interesting, but I don't find that to be the case. Sorry, I'm reaching for my water. I have never found that to be the case, but yeah, there's been some open dialogue recently, and with my coworkers and their experiences, and yeah, juggling is hard.
Yeah. Agree.
Hi, Kim. Kim is my fellow PTK board member. So also a parent.
Awesome. Welcome.
And I see Professor Mayer. She's an advisor for PTK. She's on here.
Awesome. This looks like great support. This is so awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Great. So it looks like, we have maybe a few more people popping in, but before I introduce our guest speaker, I just want to talk about the C Campus grant and the Student Parent Fellowship real quick. So first, I'd like to introduce some of the other members of the fellowship. I'm a student at, maybe I should talk about me first real quick. I'm a student in Bergen. I'm actually in my final semester. I'm an education major who has kind of changed the course a little because of my success at Bergen. So I'm actually going into advocacy and hoping to develop programs for adults with special needs. And I actually just recently, because of my schooling, have been offered a new position as a adult services manager. So I'm actually going to be running an adult program soon. So in a couple weeks, I'll be starting that. So I am part of the Student Parent Fellowship, and I'm going to introduce Lark Lowe, who is the C Campus coordinator who's made this evening possible. And we have Sally Dionisio. I don't see her here, but she is the director of Bergen Community College's amazing Child Development Center. And then we have Bergen's education program faculty advisor and my mentor, Professor Melissa Krieger. So some amazing women are a part of this fellowship, and it's been a really good experience. So for the Student Parent Fellowship, I'm conducting research in hopes to discover how to help student parents see success in higher learning. In the chat, there's a link for an anonymous poll that I'm asking the BCC student parents to fill out to help this research. I'm going to share some interesting statistics I've come across so far in my research. 1 out of every 5 college students has children. So 20% of college students are parents. That amounts to around 4 million students a year. Student parents do comparatively better in school than a student without children. Over 1/3 of student parents maintain over a 3.5 GPA. In comparison, roughly 1/4 of students without children maintain the same GPA. However, according to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, over 52% of student parents drop out before completing their degree. So through my research, I found 2 reasons, not only 2 reasons, but 2 major reasons for this. Number one is a term that I keep coming across. It's called time poverty. While student parents might be able to attend classes, they may not be able to devote enough time to work and studying necessary to complete the course. Nearly half of student parents work full-time. A full-time job, along with parenting responsibilities and classes, leaves little time for much else. The other reason is lack of childcare, particularly evening childcare options, which are necessary to be able to complete assignments and attend evening classes, where a lot of parents are working full-time during the day. To answer childcare issues, the U.S. Department of Education has created the C Campus program, the Child Care Means Parents in School program, which offers funding for childcare services and federal aid to help students pay for childcare. And that's where LARC comes in. So, why we're here tonight, Renee Jones was a student parent herself, navigating through grad school while pregnant with 3 young children under the age of 8 years old, and then with 4 children, one being a newborn. I don't know how you did it. My kids are older and I still don't know how I'm doing it. She's shared her experiences through her online blog, 3 Princes and a Sweet Pea, and you can find the link in the chat, which I'll be posting in a little bit. And she's here to talk tonight about her books, 50 Things to Know About Going Back to School While Parenting. And you can find it on Amazon, and also her book, It Was Always 4. They're both available on Amazon, and I have to tell you, the 50 Things is such a great book. It's a quick read, and it's fabulous. So let's give a warm Bergen welcome to Renee Jones.
I feel so honored to be here. I think it's so awesome, the work that you're doing, Katie, and I feel so grateful that you found me. I really kind of went into writing this and I was just like, what do I really wish someone had sat me down to let me know what I was about to get myself into? Because as you said, I had 4 kids during my second year of graduate school, but my first year I was pregnant and I always had challenging pregnancies, which led to a whole host of difficulties. But yeah, I did it. I survived. And so I live to tell about it. Here we are. Yeah. I don't know. I can just dive into some of the book or
Yeah,
just a little bit about me. Yeah, of course. So I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I don't know about y'all, but we have been experiencing the weirdest weather. It's been like 60 degrees. I'm just waiting for it to dump snow on us any day now. But I am a teacher at Lincoln High School. Lincoln High is a really awesome place to be. We're very diverse. There are like 40 different languages spoken in our hallways every single day. It's incredible. Um, my husband and I, we have 4 biological children. They are now 8, 6, 4, and 2. And we are now also hosting an exchange student from Germany. So he just turned 17. And so having a mix of toddler and teenagers has been interesting. And then of course he has a very serious girlfriend. So we've had that joy as well to learn from. But yeah, I've been a teacher for this is my 9th year, and my graduate program is in educational leadership. And so while I haven't yet made the jump to an administrator, mostly just because of the time commitment and with 4 small kids, I decided I was like, how else can I kind of share my journey and my experiences? And so I found writing ended up being a form of self-care that I could do in pieces or at nap time, or a lot of these books were written on my cell phone while I was like in the car waiting for pickup or waiting for somebody at soccer practice or wherever it happened to be. I just kind of threw some ideas together, originally on index cards, and then just kind of ran with whatever kind of came to me for what that meant. So that's kind of how the first one generated.
And were you part of a writing workshop, or were you? It's just something that you were doing independently. I don't mind if you mind if I ask you questions, right?
No, please do. Yeah, so the first one, I was approached by an outside publisher and that had stumbled upon my blogs and was just like, "Do you mind sharing some experiences?" about what that looks like of going to school with while parenting. And at first I was like, oh boy, I don't really know that I have that much to share, because I feel like when you just kind of get in the grind of it, you're in the tunnel where I don't know about you guys, but it's just like I've got the things I have to get done today, and then I've got 47 other things that would be a real nice idea if I could get there. And so I didn't really think what I was doing was unique or special. And so when they approached me, I was like, sure, I can throw some ideas down. So it came, and as Katie said, it's a pretty short read, and because I wanted to give like a few concrete examples, a few funny stories about some disaster that happened while parenting, and then kind of how I tried to stay pretty optimistic through my journey. My second book, It Was Always Four, came and somebody mentioned that they had a child that was in and out of the hospital. My Our youngest and our only girl, Aurora, when she was born in early June, and I had graduate class the entire month of July, and I didn't miss a day. My work was done before. When I went in to turn the first draft of my thesis, my professor's like, "You can't possibly be done with this yet. You just had a baby." And I was like, "Well, I did it last semester to plan ahead." And so she really was incredibly positive, but in that moment, she really doubted my work. And I use that as a motivator, just like kind of the stubborn in me was like, you wait, watch me, you know? And so that kind of drove that. But my daughter, Aurora, she was hospitalized with an emergency surgery the week school opened. I still opened my class. I went to the hospital, and then I went to school, and then I went back to the hospital. And she was in and out of the hospital for several months, and it just slowly kind of broke me. And I told my husband, I was like, I can't, I don't know up from down. I need some help. And so I decided to take a leave of absence. I decided that early March 2020, as you all know what happened, the pandemic hit. And so while I was trying to figure out, do I stay home? I'm about to graduate in May. I'm going to have this degree, and now I'm not even going to use it. I'm not even going to be working. What does my life look like? Um, so I started a journal, and I just started journaling whatever authentic thoughts, very real, raw emotions of like that. Can I parent and be successful in a career? What does that look like? And then, people kept coming to me and they'd be like, well, if you just had one kid, you could probably do that, but you've got four. So it's okay to step, as if they were granting me some sort of permission, um, for having, this wanting to step down for a year. So I ended up taking a leave of absence, and It Was Always Four is basically just a journal of what that looks like for me. So every day or at least once a week, whenever I was kind of in my feelings about parenting or staying home, I just journaled and I just wrote what was going on for me. I ended up having two major surgeries and a few other interviews, and it was just this really weird, authentically raw period of time. And then I kept writing because I was like, we're in a pandemic. Half my kids aren't going to remember what they lived through. And so that was kind of why I kept that going. But then eventually it became to the spot where I had friends, they're like, don't you think other people would like to know this real experience of how what your struggle looked like? Um, and then ultimately, I landed on going back to work because stay-at-home mom life wasn't for it was way harder than teaching. And so in my experience, and so I opted to go back to school. But that's kind of the basic background of the two books that I've worked on.
It's such a familiar story, I'm sure, for a lot of us, and at least bits and pieces, in that definite struggle, the juggle of being a parent. Even I mean, I have older children, but even for myself, there's been times where do I make the game and stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning writing that paper I gotta write, or do I pass and then I feel guilty because I didn't make that
Yeah.
game to see my son play, or whatever other event there might be. It's definitely, there's a struggle, there's a balance, and sometimes, and we're so hard on ourselves.
Mhm.
We are our own worst critics, like they say. Um, Were there any supports that your school offered as far as being a parent in school?
So the graduate program I was enrolled with, it was nice in that it's really catered for teachers that are working to become an administrator. And so the way that our program worked was we met one Sunday a month for 8 hours, and then we met every day almost for the duration of like the month of July in the summer. And so we had that, and then we had a lot of internship hours that we were working with the administrators in our buildings as kind of like an internship. And so um, there weren't any formal supports. Um, there were a lot of other people in my schooling that were going through the same thing. And so we could try to bounce things off each other or even kind of make light of, well, we get to go out to have like an adult lunch on Sunday, like try to make the best of the situation we were in, knowing that, like you said, one Sunday a month, I was missing at least 3 soccer games. My husband was juggling more than, he wanted to some Sundays. It's a lot to ask for me to be gone for 8 hours every few weeks. And so, your kids trying to understand, or the meaning well comments from people, even people you love, that are like, you really should be at home with your kids, or you really missed Maverick's soccer game. He scored that goal. Wish you could have seen it, or just these kind of things of like, oh, your job will be there waiting for you, but your kids are only young once. All of these things. And then all of a sudden you start eating at yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like he'll only have 40 third grade soccer games, and now I've missed 3 of them. I'm the worst mom in the world. And like, to say it out loud with a number sounds crazy, but in that moment, it's really hard to put yourself first and to know that, like, or to outweigh the understand the benefits of like what other lessons are you teaching your kids by going for these kinds of things, or what are they seeing you do when they see you choose your paper over, or like, there were a couple times I sent my husband to parent teacher conferences by himself, and people would be like, "Your husband?" And I was like, the audacity. I don't know. I couldn't quite gather it, but it was just, I think my biggest support was having a spouse that supported me, and being just very intentional and unforgiving. And I didn't get this perfect all the time of like, this is what I'm doing. How can I support you in doing your side so that I can also do mine? And just being realistic with like, okay, if you have the kids this day, can I give you a few hours the day before or the next day to try to like make sure that they're also taken care of? Um, and then I had to really quickly kind of get over this not wanting to ask people for help, like my mom or my mother-in-law or Maverick's best friend. Can he just hitch a ride with you? Like doing like being very creative and how we're gonna make our kids still feel special, but also make sure that like I'm a part of the equation as well. So no, unfortunately, my graduate program didn't have any of the wonderful supports that you address. In fact, my graduate program, we had an interview in order to get into the program, and at the time I had 3 kids, and I remember the folks interviewing me, they're like, I see you have 3 kids. This is a lot of work. Are you going to be able to handle this? And I remember being incredibly outraged and was like, just, I don't even know where this came from out of my mouth, but I was like, please only judge me on the work that I complete, not by what my family looks like at home. Because I feel like, especially with a large family, people hear 4 kids, and then they start saying, they just assume that I'm running around with the chicken with my head cut off, and sometimes they might very well be right, but I also never missed a deadline, and I graduated with 4.0, and all of these wonderful accolades, and a lot of times I think sometimes spite motivated me, unfortunately. But I would love to see programs established here in Lincoln where people have formalized supports, and kind of normalize these things for our schools. Yeah.
So what are like 5, you have 50, and I'm not going to tell you to go through all 50 items that are that every student parent should know, but maybe like your top 3. What are your top 3 for you? Because I think for everybody else is going to be different, but for you, just to kind of
Sure.
guide someone.
Yeah. I think one of the big ones for me, is knowing your why, the why you're going to show up, why this is important to you. And as an administrator, I really got motivated. So our he's now 6 years old. His name is Ace, and Ace is his formal diagnosis goes back and forth because he's only 6. But regardless of his diagnosis, he needs a lot of supports in school, and he needs a lot of support with his mental health. He's very non-neurotypical. He's not neurotypical, and so he became my biggest drive of like, I need to become the educator or the administrator that I need for my son, that I need other people to be for my son. And outside of that, it's like, I feel value when I am going for a goal and when I have, maybe I'm juggling all kinds of things. Like, I need to feel accomplishment. Otherwise, I notice that slowly I just start resenting my husband, because, he had the audacity to go for his dreams, or my best friend, or my own kids. I'm starting to get mad. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if mama could play soccer with her friends? And then I was like, oh boy, this cannot be it. And so I think knowing that why and understanding that, um, my kids have they are incredibly valuable individuals in our family unit, but so am I. I get to be a part of my family, and so whatever my goals are, what makes me feel good, that also gets to have value. So that's definitely one of them. I think one that is really hard, is kind of that acceptance of just, you can't get to it all. You can't get to every doctor's appointment. You can't be at every game. You can't help with every spelling word. You just have to kind of let go. And part of that is like what society says you need to do, or maybe your family values, or whatever you dreamed of what parenthood would look like for you. Um, I want to be, before I was a mom, I wanted to be the mom that like made everybody's birthday cakes and did homemade Valentines. And I was going to show Pinterest, like, what's up. And I am just not good at that. That is just not my strength. And I once spent like 6 hours trying to make a Thomas cake for my oldest son. He ended up purple and like with some blue wheels. I don't even know. And my husband said, please don't ever try that again, with the most of love, because I was so mad at my cake that I didn't even enjoy my son's birthday party. And so just knowing kind of what are your strengths and what do you kind of need to let go of. And then the last one is just be very creative. Every single week, be really creative of like, every day I set a list of like 3 top things. I put my top 3 things on a sticky note on my laptop. These are the things that, like, in order to move the needle that day, these are the things I have to get done. And so when these things are checked off, then I know I can just relax. If I have time or energy to do more, then I do more. But a lot of times it's just those 3 days. And so sometimes that was, create this graduate project. And some days that was build this resume or whatever it was, enroll Barrett into this soccer program. But after those 3 things, I just kind of allowed myself to do something else, or to like, I don't know, watch a TV show, do whatever it was that I felt like I needed to do that day. And that was really hard. Or asking for help, um, knowing that, yeah, you just can't do it all. It's just really hard.
Is it hard asking for help, like when you are like a student parent, because do you feel like you said, is it because like you feel selfish, or do you feel like people are like, oh, if I'm asking for help, then it seems like I'm proving that I can't handle it. Is that
Sure.
kind of like a thing going on? I don't know.
I definitely had that, at least in my own ego, of like, and I had to fight with this internal dialogue of like, you did this to yourself, Renee. You signed yourself up for graduate school. You're the one with these big old dreams. Or like, you really think you can go up and crush glass ceilings if you can't even juggle this graduate assignment and getting your kid to the doctor's office, or whatever. Um, yeah, I definitely battle that a lot. I think we're all our own worst enemies. And it becomes hard sometimes. Like, I would see my husband who's tired, who now has to pick up this slack, or my mom also works full time and now she's, picking up her grandkids twice a week. Um, and I think it was easy, like, when I had a scheduled class, like, I had to get there. I felt like, "Oh, see, I have to be there because I paid this tuition." But if it was time for, like, an assignment, that could always potentially be pushed off, right? Like, "Oh, I can write that thesis chapter later, or who needs sleep?" Like, those kinds of things felt easier to push to the side, um, or not ask for help. But I became pretty good at planning and planning ahead, and kind of trying to juggle. For us in Lincoln, school is out at 3 o'clock every day. Well, I had daycare till 5:30, and so a lot of times by 3:15, my classroom door was shut, blinds down. Nobody would even know if I'm there because I have 2 hours. I have from 3:15 till 5:15 to do all the things, you know, um, schedule doctor's appointments or get graduate assignments done or write a blog or whatever it was. And I just kind of drilled through, and that became my saving grace. I was fortunate in that I didn't have a job that was till 5. Now that also meant my plan periods or any downtime I had a lot of days, I didn't get to just kind of like relax or watch, scroll through Instagram or whatever. Um, I was just nose down grading I mean, I was kind of like a machine a lot. And it was exhausting. So, but worth it. Yeah.
Was undergrad like more challenging with children than grad school?
So I never experienced undergraduate.
Okay.
Yeah, I graduated in 2009 with my undergraduate, and no, I've only ever done graduate school as mom.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I
I
see
think Melissa had
Professor
a question.
Krieger has her hand.
Oh,
Professor
great.
Krieger has a private question.
Of course.
I could I unmuted. I just like listening to Renee Jones, she tells the story of so many, and as you're telling that story, I'm starting to feel guilty even though my kids are all grown up. But I just have to turn it back around, and I wrote a couple of notes. Um, when you're fulfilling your own potential, when you're doing the best for yourself, you're doing the best for everyone you love. In being selfish, you're being selfless. You're raising the bar, you're showing, you're role modeling. I mean, all of us. I have so many student parents saying things in the chat, and I'm just feeling so guilty. But we got to turn it around and see if
Yeah.
they see us knowing how to be happy in life. That is the only gift we need to give our children. We only want them to do without feeling guilty. Guilt and blame are the opposite of love. And if you could
Yeah.
not be critical of yourself and you can love yourself and forgive yourself, you're teaching that to your children. This is a beautiful thing. Keep going to school. After graduate school,
Yeah.
there'll be another degree you should look at. And that's for all of you. I don't want to feel guilty. I want to
Yeah.
feel like whatever I love doing, it's because I love them, I'm doing it.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point because I think it's so easy to focus on like, wow, this is hard, or this is kind of the things I had to sacrifice or give up, in order to do both. But there was a lot of beauty that came with it. Like all four of my babies got to watch me walk across the graduation stage. They all, when they did homework at the dining room table, so did I. And so we got to have conversations about our assignments and this is the research I've done. And, like I get to bring them to my school sometimes to get grading done. And we get to have these really cool moments where mom gets to project on the big screen in the auditorium while they watch a movie while I'm grading papers and just kind of finding some of the fun with it as well. And you get to always tell your kids and to pay it forward one day to know that like when or if my own children want to go after some ambitious dream, whether it be formal education or whatever it be, that like, hey, I did this, or remember when, or mom did it, so I know I can do it too. And just to kind of build those conversations and instill these values in them is a really powerful thing. So I'm glad you reminded us of that. That's
Did,
cool.
did you have a mentor as a grad student? Did you have a mentor, or even as a student parent, did you have a mentor, like a person that you could bounce ideas off of? Was having a friendship or having a mentor important, or was it just something that you were just driven by yourself to do?
Yeah. I didn't have a formal mentor. I had people. I mean, a lot of my drive was just it's just kind of who I am. Always doing, always going. That's where I feel joy and challenge as a person. But as I said earlier, I was really driven by what supports does my own son need? How do I give that not only to him, right? How do I learn about the education system so I can better support him and as he began his academic journey, but
Mm-hmm.
also in kids who aren't as fortunate to have a parent who knows or has the same kind of education that I may have, and how can I support them in their journey? Um, but no, yeah, I mean, I had fellowship in peers in my,
Mm-hmm.
graduate program. Our graduate program was pretty unique in that, there were 32 of us, and the 32 of us stayed together. So every Sunday we met with the same people or all summer long. So you really get to know people, and kind of can bounce ideas and, "How are you doing this?" or "What does this look like?" or late night Zoom calls or whatever to try to get the job done, kind of.
And you had this, I think it's really cool. You had, on your site, you're talking about a positive notebook, like to keep like a journal, I guess, of positive things that are happening. How'd you come about doing
Yeah.
that? And is that a practice you continue today?
Yeah, so I try to really intentionally start my week and end my week on a positive note. And so whether that be with teaching or with parenting. And so the way I do it professionally is like on Monday morning, I kind of reflect and think about what are some activities I can do to get to know my kids better. And then on Friday, right before I leave school, I always make at least one positive phone call home to somebody, because nothing brightens up your soul better than like calling little Johnny's mom, who's usually goofing around in classes, be like, "Did you know what great thing Johnny did today?" And that mom is or dad is just incredibly thrilled, and it just kind of gives you so that you're ending the week on this really high note. Because teaching, parenting, it's all hard. Working with kids is hard, and so you have to kind of um, remember that. And with my own kids, I do little notes on their doors one for a different holiday. So right now for Valentine's they have little hearts on their doors, and it's nice for them to see, but it also forces me to slow down and to remember the little beautiful things about who they are as people, because it's so easy to remember, like, oh my gosh, your shirt's on backwards again, you left your homework out, oh my lord, you don't have your spelling words, or whatever myriad of things that are happening that day. It forces me to just like stop and reflect and remember that, like, wow, 10 years ago this is all I ever wanted, and here I am fortunate enough to live it, even though it is so stinking hard sometimes. Yeah.
Somebody else, their question. I'm trying to see if there's another, like, because some comments that other has people said, says, thank you for your words. Well, he's talked to Professor Krieger. Thank you for your words. You're
Yeah.
right. We're all doing this for ourselves and our kids. Your words are so encouraging.
Yeah.
It is sometimes we moms get lost in caring for others. And
Yeah.
now that you graduated, I mean, do you feel that way? Do you still feel like, are you going to continue your schooling, or are you done? Or do you feel like that now you're done and you're finished, or you feel like you should continue doing what you're doing?
I definitely want a doctorate in my future. As of for when, I don't know. But I'm definitely a person that's kind of always reaching, always doing the next thing. And so my next big thing is I am presenting at South by Southwest next month, and so that's my next big adventure that I haven't tackled. And and then I'm taking care of myself that way. And so I have this speech. I've got a speech coach, and I'm spending time every single week meeting with them and being intentional, and for no other reason than it makes me feel good to continue learning something else. And I'm a speech teacher, so I felt like, well, it's only really fair if I put myself in my students' shoes. So that was really the driving factor. But no, I'm a lifelong learner. I absolutely want to keep going. And I'm just one of those people that I think I could just be in school forever, if that pesky tuition wasn't in on it. But I absolutely love it. And one of those where it's like, well, I've made it work once. And in the moments, it felt hard some days. But really, with a good system and giving yourself some grace, it felt manageable most days. It felt like, and I once I gave up the idea of being the perfect all things, the perfect wife, the perfect mom, the perfect teach, all these things. And I took away the negative connotation that's sometimes labeled good enough. I was good enough. I had good enough meals that I gave to my kids every single day. And it was good enough that I read 2 bedtime stories instead of all 7 that Rory wanted, and just kind of figured out, what does life look like for me to juggle these things? And so while it was challenging at times, it was it was manageable with good systems. Yeah.
Hmm. Somebody made a comment here, said, Felicia said, I've been journaling since I was in the 5th grade. It helps me in so many
Oh,
ways in life.
fun.
I've started a journal. I'm sorry. My thing is, I've started a journal for my daughter. She does not know it. I will give it to her when she gets older. Oh, that's so amazing. I like that
What a
idea.
gift. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Better
Yes,
gift on the
that's so
Facebook page,
awesome.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful. I've also heard of people like setting up email accounts and kind of that same thing. And that's what a cool gift to see. And, even in moments like this, I feel like writing to your children is such a good way of reminding yourself what are the lessons you want to teach. And it kind of reminds you of like why this is so important and all those really positive things that you're doing as you pursue your passions. So that's cool.
I'm so curious. What are you going to be presenting at South by Southwest?
Oh yeah. So I'm speaking South by Southwest EDU, and I'm talking about the power of connecting students to students. I think as educators, we do a pretty good job, almost always teachers building relationships with kids, like teacher student. But I really love building student student connections and building a community with the idea of, I have my students stand in front of the room to give a speech 4 times a semester. It's a whole lot easier if they know each other's names and at least care about them a little bit. So kind of building that community in my room. So that kind of premise. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That sounds like a great. I'm gonna actually like take a look out and make sure that I look at your presentation. I don't know if it's going to be live this
Oh,
year or is it
awesome.
going to be virtual?
It's both. Both. Yeah.
Oh,
So
both.
my
Okay.
presentation, yeah, will be recorded. So yeah, it's in person in Austin, but also available online. So that's kind of cool.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, do you have like other books that you're going to write, like other books in the pipeline for you, or?
Yeah, I've been working on a book that's called Connection in the Classroom. Well, rough title, and it's just talking about connection strategies and probably, like what a lot of you guys do. And you're like, people come to you. I would have people say this to me in graduate school, like, "Ooh, girl, you're like a superhero. How do you do all these things?" And to some of you, it's probably like, this is just a day in the life. I don't know any other way. But to see it from a different lens, and then use your experience to help guide somebody else, or even somebody else that's going through it and have been going through it. Like some of you have older kids, but somebody who's, newer with toddlers may have discovered something. And so you both can work together to share your experiences. I think that's really powerful. So just to kind of support other teachers. I'm always looking at, these blogs or this podcast of how can I kind of beg, borrow, and steal strategies to make my life a little easier, or more fun in the classroom. So hopefully we'll do the same for somebody else. Yeah.
Well, Jamila has a question. She says,
Of
"What
course.
advice?" And guys, we're gonna and women, we're gonna open this up in a little bit so that you guys can ask her questions. But just kind of pop it in here. It says, "What advice would you give to parents with special education children
Yeah.
My daughter was recently diagnosed with autism, and I feel so overwhelmed and can't keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so and it was always 4. I talk a lot about my son Ace when he turned 4. We were at Thanksgiving and I could see it in his eyes. He was about to flip a table, and it was one of those moments in my life that I'll never forget. Because it was the moment I knew something is different. Something is different with this kid. His brain works different, and I need to learn different. And so, I have found the best thing I can do is really accept the help, accept that for me, that you know he's not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong, um, and I need to know more. I need to know supports. And so for us, that meant individual therapy. I'm currently in a almost 2-year battle with our school to get an IEP. And so I just started researching like a crazy person of like, what is that other category and what kind of things fit into that? And how do I squeeze and justify these skills for my own kid? And what very specific, tangible things do I want? And so I think the power of educating myself, and also I felt less alone when I started talking about it. And so we have a 6-year-old who is diagnosed ADHD, and he's also getting tested for autism. And he is on antidepressants, and that has been a really hard thing for me to accept. That like my 6-year-old's depressed. Like how does that happen? Where do we go from here? And so when I finally started being honest with other people. And not that I'm just throwing Ace's business out, down the road, but when I can say, oh no, I have to stop and give Ace his medication, and it, and also having those conversations with Ace, and just allowing myself to be open and honest, and also to just not invite people's advice or opinions to the table, because even well intended advice can sometimes be incredibly overwhelming, or at least knowing which ones to put in your pocket and which ones to throw away. And so, and I think it's just a matter of following your intuition. You know your kid best. What maybe just focus on the next right thing. The next right thing for me is to not handle this today because it's been a hard day. Or the next right thing is to open an email to somebody that says, what kind of supports, does this district provide, or does this facility provide, or another parent, and just kind of be open to a conversation, um, to that. So I think, yeah, I think you're doing good things. Your daughter's lucky to have somebody who's educated and going after it and seeing that. So cool. I hope that's helpful a little bit.
Hmm, hmm. And we should see if I mean, I guess I think it's so wonderful, like just what you're doing in regards to your work as a teacher and your work as a parent, and then putting that like into book form. Have you ever thought about writing fiction? I know that's kind of a weird question, but have you ever thought about writing fiction since you're
Um,
you
I haven't. I've taught fiction and I enjoy fiction. I honestly I have a blog and I try for the darndest of me to keep up with that, or like a Facebook page or something, and I do really good for about 3 days, and then I don't have a good system for that. Um, but I just kind of write when it feels like an intense, I need to get this out, or I just feel like it could be helpful to mostly to myself. And then I I started to just I felt really lonely after a while of, my gosh, am I the only one that's ever dealt with this? That can't be. But I felt like at least nobody in my circle was really talking about what keeping 50 balls in the air feels like, or, just all the demands that we were doing as a working parent, as a working student parent. And so I just was like, I need to share this. And so the beautiful thing is that I've got to connect and learn from a lot of people because um, just because I took the risk to share my story. And I don't write a lot of fiction. I've got 5 kids in this house. There are a lot of real life things that are hilarious and ridiculous happening every second of the day. So I just, it makes a lot of good commentary to break the ice in my classroom every day.
So what did you wish that someone had known, like that your college had known to support you as a student parent? I'm asking ask the
Yeah,
rest
I
of you that
wish.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to know as well. Um, and I wish they would have known potentially how inflexible they were coming off as. Um, as I shared earlier, I had my youngest in early June, and I was back in class in July all day. She was just 2.5 weeks old, and if I would have chosen to take the time off, I would have had to wait a year and a half before the next group started. And those people, I had already spent a year and a whole bunch of time with them. They meant a lot to me. Graduating with them meant a lot to me. And I felt like I only need a few weeks or like an option to zoom in or just something. I don't need a year and a half off. And I also knew if I take a year and a half off, there is no way I'm jumping back on that horse probably. My momentum is now. And so just kind of if they would take a step back and see, have a different lens or even open up conversations for student parents or of any other minority group of like, how was this experience for you? What could we have done to support you? Or just even some of those biases that they have. I'd be in groups and they would be like, "Oh, well, Renee probably can't do that because she's got to take her kids somewhere," or and they were well-meaning in their intention. They were trying to be thoughtful, but just kind of debunking some of those perceptions. Um, and I wasn't strong enough yet in my advocacy to speak up in a respectful way and just to say, "Hey guys, like I can do this. I can figure this out." But I think I am a better advocate for that today.
Well, Jamie has had a comment. She says, "My children are older now, but I did try getting my degree when they were younger, and I think the hardest part is asking for help or allowing your husband or wife to do things their way. If you don't have a husband or wife, but letting family members or friends help.
Yeah.
I know when they were younger and not having the support somewhat forced me to give up years ago, and I am here now with them older going for what I need and want to do." So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a challenge too. I mean, I've heard that story a lot about people waiting till their kids got older before they went back to school. Um, and I guess what my question is, to you, Renee, and to everybody, um, I find it a bit problematic where it's like you have to be like a super person. Like, oh my God. Like, I mean, I think it's great that you are like driven. And I think it's great that Katie is driven. I think it's great that everybody I know who's like a student parent is like, I can do like 1,000 things at the same time. But I'm like, why is it set up? I mean, I'm like, I am the college, but why is it set up that way? Like, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be set up that way, right? You shouldn't have
Right.
to be like superhuman in order to get. I remember when I was in school, I had a student no, we were in college together in grad school. This My friend, bless her, she was pregnant all the way up to the final, dropped the baby, came back in the next day. I was like,
Wow.
where everybody's like, oh my God. But in a way though, then it becomes this expectation that that's doable for everybody. And so then people
Yeah.
who can't do that, oh, well, you don't really try. You're not really trying. 'Cause this person had she went to work 40 hours a week and had a baby, and then boom. And then it's like, why can't you do that? Stacy says, I waited until my two kids were older and relinquished control to my husband, and asking others for help was the hardest thing I've done so far.
Yeah.
Wow. That's just, do you think go ahead, Melissa.
Just listening to this talk, it just brings up so many like memories, really. When this last person, Stacy said it, and also Jamie, that it's so hard to ask for help and it's so hard to let go of control because they want to do it their way, put their stamp on it. Letting go of control and asking for help. We know how good it feels to help people. It's a gift, right? But yet we're so hesitant to ask for help. It's almost as if you're denying the people around you who care for you that gift of feeling good that they can help you, as well as going back to that role modeling. We fall short in recognizing what this is all about. And it's only about human capital. It's only about us. There's no race to the top. It's supposed to be all joy, right? As best you could. So that whole thing, it just brings it all back. I know exactly how student parents feel, especially with those young kids. Part of it is us, regardless of supports that are around us. We have to like recondition ourselves from when we were young, and we think we're only good if we're blaming ourselves or working extra hard or feeling bad. Instead of feeling good, we focus on all the negatives. We're all so powerful. We're so lucky to have this forward motion. And I guess imagining someone else had said that their child was just diagnosed with autism, and then Renee, you had said the same. You have this diagnosis looming. It's like, if you can accept that things are as they are, and that you are the perfect match for the child that you were given. The perfect match. Who else will love this child with all his atypicalities, all his uniqueness? Who else will love this child the way you would? You're not going to be perfect. Even if you didn't go to school, you're not going to be perfect.
Right.
So this sort of thing, it makes me feel better just thinking of it that way. So I hope I give you something. People
Yeah,
are in the
absolutely.
throes of it,
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah,
piggyback
mindset is so powerful.
When I first started school, the first real argument that me and my husband had was he was trying to help me. He was excellent. He's an excellent support. I have to give it to him. But he had folded the towels, our bath towels, and I opened the closet. I'm like, what is that? So I literally took them all out and was in the bedroom folding them, and he caught me. We had the biggest argument. He was like, what are you doing? I already did this. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not folded the right way. And he's like, what is the right way? It's like, they're towels. Nobody's going to see them. So, and it's just a perfect example of letting go. And it really was hard. Clearly, if I couldn't even handle the towels being folded a certain way, it was hard. But I'm really glad I did. And my mom kind of sat me down and said to me, she's like, listen, she's like, you have to realize the example you're setting for your children right now. It's okay to let certain things go. You're setting the greater picture is the example that you're setting for your children right now, that you can continue to learn and continue to grow as an individual. And that really has stuck with me all through this. That yes, there's a different purpose to what I'm doing right now, and it doesn't matter what my linen closet looks like, even though I twitch sometimes when I open the door. So,
but I think your research that you're doing, and even like I think that Renee's book is even part of that research. That what institutional changes that we can take to actually create a better system, so that you don't, what if somebody is like, everybody doesn't have like that kind of like inner, I mean, it's great that people who do have that, but some people don't have that kind of inner kind of like strength, or and I guess for like other student parents who are in the audience, if you want to put it in the chat, or if you want to like say like what are some challenges or some things that you would like institutionally to be changed, you know, for you as a student parent. Childcare, for younger kids, like the cost, the classes. Do you like asynchronous classes? Like think about some stuff, and you know, you could tell us.
Yes, this is definitely what I want to know. And so if you weren't here at the beginning, there is a poll in the chat that I would love for you to fill out, and that just to help me get a better idea of that as well. And also for me, I did wait until my children are older, they're teenagers, but I really wish I had known like the supports that do exist, because I would have done it sooner. I also wish that I knew what I was capable of. I don't think I ever realized what I was truly capable, and now I do. I know I can do it. It's not, you know, to me, school sounded like such a, I don't know. It just was so intimidating. And it was intimidating from the time I started. And I never anticipated I would be doing something like this. I planned on kind of hiding out and not even letting anybody see me. So that was my plan to get through school. But I really wish I had known about the supports that existed, because I think I would have done it sooner, you know? And that's something I'm wondering what kind of supports people are aware of or what they're utilizing at Bergen. Those are all questions that I really, you know, would love to know. I think it'll help us to figure it out. I am going to post the poll again, Lark. I see you.
I posted it one more time. Another thing too, I said, some Felicia said, I have a problem in asking for help. My daughter is in a lot of outpatient therapy. However, when the people around you, husband and family, and are in denial, they don't accept the diagnosis. So I'm this situation. I feel that their help is not much of a help. Sometimes help is not family, is what our city and educational centers can provide. My biggest blessing is my daughter's early development teacher who provide her with outstanding resources and help. Also, have you, there's a program called SPAN, New Jersey. And they do really excellent advocacy. My sister, she's an identity first language and she's autistic and I'm a twin. You know, the thing, one of the challenges was like you were saying, Felicia, was we had you know, autism is part of neurodiversity, and so you have different people with different ways of how autism is manifested. And the thing is that it is challenging when family members don't. It's kind of like, oh, if everybody can't act, you know, the standard is everybody acting the same. So if someone acts differently, we have to fix them to make them act the same. But I think we just need like more supports in regards to neurodiversity, more supports in regards to student parent. Anybody who's not in that line, it's like, oh, we have nothing for you. If you're 18 and you have a kid, we have nothing for you. If you have a child and the child is disabled, we have nothing for you. If you know, and also too, I want student parents to know that the campus program, I think a lot of times people think you have to have like no money at all. That's not most people. It's a moderate income program. So that means if you qualify for a Pell Grant, no matter how small, even if you qualify for a $2 Pell Grant, you can get campus support. So I think that's something that people don't even know is a thing. But I'm going to stop talking and open the floor up to other people who may have questions or ask Renee a question regarding her book and regarding her journey, or ask Katie a question, or you can ask Professor Melissa Krieger a question, or you can ask me or thoughts or comments that anything you guys like to say. Because
I'll share a little bit.
Okay.
So I have twin girls, right? They're 3. So I feel like something I wish, I guess, I don't want to say the system or like schools, I don't know, but I wish just that everybody's reality isn't the same. So I was a stay-at-home mom before enrolling at Bergen. My husband is a truck driver, so now that like I'm a student, it was hard to rely on childcare coming from my husband. He's the only provider, and I can't count on him to be home. He would leave. Sorry for the noise. My kids are. I would turn on the camera, but I don't want to show you guys the background. So once I enrolled and then found out about the campus grant and the child development center, like I shared at previously, the first time ever I'm enrolled as a full-time student. It's hard juggling life with 2-3-year-olds, taking care of a household. I can't really put that on my husband because he like has a crazy job. I can never, count on him to be here. So I've really been almost forced to ask for help. So it's like you either do it or you don't. And for me, it's like I'm doing this for them as much as I'm doing it for myself. I shared before, my husband said I'm his greatest investment. It's because eventually, like for me to get back into the field, to get back to work and be able to support my family, it's just like, it's hard because people don't understand that it's not everybody's story is the same. Like, oh, it's easy. Oh, you're a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. Like, oh, it's nothing. But I'm like, my husband isn't here. Yeah, I have a husband, but I can't count on him to be here. And if he's home, that means we're not making any money and there's no money to pay the bills, and then we're in big trouble. So the Child Development Center and the campus grant has been like in the saving grace of my education. I'm going to be able to finish at the end of the summer. Yes, that's your teacher. Yes. Sorry. They see Mark. Sorry. I'm going to stop now.
No, I mean, I think that's wonderful. I mean, I think that's the, it was so, that was the thing. My mother would tell me that, you know, people kind of felt because she was a stay-at-home mom, like, oh, your life's easy. You're a stay-at-home mom. You don't have to worry. And it's not, and the thing is this, money is a big deal. Money matters. Of course, money matters. But also, too, the fact that if you are a parent and you are a parent that is viewed as the mother parent, it's viewed that you don't have to continue your life. Your life now is just being a parent. And not necessarily, I'm not saying that's bad. It's not bad all the time, but maybe at some point you want to leave the house if your kids are small.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
that my husband pushed me to go to school. It was a little less than a year after I had my girls. And it was just in a moment where I was like in serious like postpartum depression, loss of identity. I'm like, I'm nothing but like a mother that like is sacrificing my entire identity for these 2 little beings, which in one sense is true, but he's just like, why don't you just go back to school so that you go back to work and you're not doing like a little job, you're somebody with a career where like you'll feel good about yourself. And I had been previously academically dismissed when I initially went to school. So that was also like, oh, I don't want to. And going back to school was literally like what shook, like what made me feel like myself again. Now, like it's something I do for myself and has brought me so many opportunities, the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's and yes, campus, we take all kinds of forms of payment from the Office of Education, but also too we have money for student parents. So essentially, if we have space, it's going to be free. So I always try to tell people, they always are like, what do you mean? Is there some catch? I'm like, there's no catch. There's nothing. There's no catch. We have spaces for 2.5 to 5-year-olds. The thing is that if we don't have space, that's the thing. Kezia was on a waiting list. She wasn't, we weren't, she had to wait. So it wasn't like, but I called her back. I remember because I have to say, because I'm a twin and she had twins. I did remember her, but I'll remember you too. And we also are thinking about, this is not for sure. So but we also are thinking about having a for people who are campus and HERF eligible. And the thing is, if you have a Pell Grant, you probably are. We're thinking about doing some older kids after school. It depends on lots of factors, but that's happening. So if you have little older ones, please keep in contact with me. But also, too, we have this kind of thing. We had, you know, as you know, wonderful Renee sharing all of this wonderful information with us. Last time we had Dr. Boro, and he actually gave us a talk on leadership, and he also gave free leadership training to a person who is in the audience. So, I mean, we have, even if your child can't come to the child care center, we're into finding you grants, we're into finding all kinds of stuff. I mean, for you and opportunities for you. But again, I'm going to stop talking and open the floor in case somebody wants to say anything or share something.
I also just want to say that I'm going to post my email in the chat. But if you have any ideas or anything that you would like to see put in place at Bergen, reach out to me. I would love to hear your ideas. As I've been researching, and I keep coming across that time poverty, which Renee, I'm sure you're well aware of. I think all of us are. It's such a great term. It really is. That one of the things that I've been coming across is that we just don't have enough time to devote to everything, right? And we do have to let go, which is a hard thing. So I'm hoping to maybe give a tryout to a like an academic catch-up night where we might be able to provide some type of babysitting, or it's in the just thinking about it right now, but I'd love to hear what people think about that, and if they would use it, maybe, be able to bring your children for an hour or two. We feed them, play with them while you utilize the campus, and, catch up on what you need to. Maybe go to the library, or, use the Wi-Fi or whatever it is. So, but I'd love to hear other ideas. Who else better to say than the parents of Bergen? So what could be there for us? So we want to make everybody a success. That's really what it comes down to. And I think Bergen does a really great job of it. But I think, there's always room for improvement in everything that we do. So, but yeah, thank you, Renee, so much for everything. So this has been a great conversation. Oh, Professor Mayer just said, Renee, you're an amazing inspiration. Does anybody else have questions?
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say that I'm very happy I joined this meeting. I have a little 2-year-old daughter, and I struggled with school like straight out of high school. So I was a lot of in and out and dropping classes just because I couldn't, I guess I wasn't in the mindset. Once I became a mom, I wanted to kind of do this mainly like still for myself, but also I wanted one day for her to see everything that that I accomplished. And then something that Renee said, which I hadn't even thought of, because sometimes I have like my days, like last week was pretty rough because I was in and out of the hospital with her. She had some like stomach issues going on. I fell behind on assignments, and there was times where I was just like, I feel like giving up, or is it even worth it, But then Renee mentioned that all 4 of her children saw her walk across the stage and graduate. And I didn't even realize that, like, once I finish my whole like education journey, that one day my little girl is going to be able to see me walk across the stage. And then that just kind of like made me go back on all of those thoughts that I've been having, that I shouldn't keep going through with this or whatever. But it's just been a very inspiring conversation. And Professor Krieger, your comments that you mentioned to me in the chat were pretty much everything that I needed to hear. So I want to thank all of you guys, because this is definitely a great push that I've been needing lately. So thank you.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, in my classroom, and I did this kind of for me, but or excuse me, mostly for my students, but kind of for me. I got a mirror at like the dollar store, and then I cut out like a little graduation cap, and I wrote some sort of bulletin board that says, "Can you see yourself as a graduate?" And then they could see themselves in the reflection. But that was a hard semester for me, and it was also this kind of moment of like, do whatever it is where you have to see this finish line, or keep that, because man, during the daily grind, it can be really hard. So thanks for sharing that, Ashley, and keep going, because you'll get that moment and she'll get to see you, and that's so cool.
Okay, somebody had another question. Says, I have a question. I cannot put my. Okay, sorry. It says, how is the Child Development Center run at Bergen? Volunteers or teachers? I'm a child development and psychology major and would love if I could get some hours in there. Um, for work study, I guess you would talk to Dr. Krieger or Professor Krieger? No? Okay, I'm not sure.
No,
You
that would be
can.
okay. I mean, it's complicated. Ava's my student. I'll talk
Yeah,
to
okay,
you.
okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's complicated, but yeah, we have student workers. We have it's run by teachers. Um, even though the twins call me a teacher, I am not actually a teacher at the center. I'm there, and I take that. I used to be a teacher, but we have certified teachers. Like all of our teachers are, for child development. So, but they're all of our everybody essentially all of our teachers have BAs, actually like MAs degrees. And because we're a college, so we're a lab school, so we're doing a little bit different stuff. So we have a few more credentials than maybe some childcare centers. We're more of a preschool. But yeah, we do take volunteers, and student workers, and we have teachers. If you have 6 units or less, we're even hiring. So I'm not here trying to recruit, but I'm just saying we do have spots. If you have 6 units or less, you can work at the Child Development Center. And I think we pay pretty good for teaching assistants. So like I said, I'm not trying to like recruit people, but you know, $18 an hour.
And it is a fully accredited school.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
for the field work.
Mm-hmm.
Is Sally the one who sets that up if they want to try to get observation hours? I know it is advertised on our website.
Because of the pandemic, our observation requirements in our education courses have changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's not to say that students can't still observe, but field experience, they have the choice of going to the Child Development Center. And right now, most of the education course professors are posting videos because of the whole transition. We didn't know how it was going to go with monitoring vaccines, and most places are not accepting community college students. However, the Child Development Center is always accepting because they're part of our campus. As far as service learning, no. Volunteer, yes. Sally will be so happy to get your calls tomorrow. Ava, you can call her. She needs volunteers. And as far as observation hours, yes. You can go there, you could observe and then help out. And definitely Sally would be the one to contact. And or Lark, if you want to take that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you
no,
might have
just
the phone.
just the best thing to do would probably Sally likes phone calls and I like for you to email. We are really super friendly. So if you do pop by, we probably will like talk to you, but it's best if you want to get like an actual conversation, like we can talk to you and give you time, please email or call before you come by. So like I said, we love to see you. We'll if you come in, we're gonna treat you like, oh, hey, how are you doing? But I want you to be able to get the most information possible. If you give us an email, give me an email, as I'll put my email address in there, and I can actually hook you up with Sally, and help you out in regards. I keep forgetting my email address. I put LLO because if I put like lowercase, people think it's 110. I think it's
That
110
makes
at
sense.
Bergen.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, totally email me. I'll get back to you whenever you need. I'll get back to you pretty quickly if you email me. Well, actually 2 days. 2 days. Let's be reasonable.
Wasn't it Sally Kelly's class, Professor Krieger, that I did the Zoom observation? Was it her?
Yes.
Yeah, it was, right?
I think that you taught a lesson on it on the Zoom for Sally, didn't you?
I think I did.
During the height of the pandemic. I was just thinking of someone who's still on this call, Felicia Robinson. Oh my gosh, $18 an hour for a teacher assistant right on campus. Not just Felicia, but any education student. Oh my gosh, that
Well,
is a
no,
price.
you've
Great
got if you,
opportunity.
2 units or less.
What
and
is
like I
the
said,
units you mean? I don't know
no,
what.
sorry, 6 units or less. You cannot have more than 2 classes.
Oh, you mean taking 2 classes on campus?
Yeah, if you're taking more than 2 classes, we can't hire you as a
Okay. I
TA.
didn't. Okay, that I understand. That's wonderful though. So anybody
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
starting out, comes part-time, needs a little part-time job, that is in a very welcoming place,
Yeah.
child friendly. Yeah.
Let me try to find the book link. Let's see here. I have it here. Trying to get the book link for you. And I
Thank
had it.
you,
It was like,
Kim. I see your comment there. Kim is
yeah.
another, she's a superstar mom. She's all over the place. She still does Girl Scouts, even though her daughter is grown, and she's on the executive board of PTK. And we've done a lot of service projects and fundraisers together. We cross over all the time. So she's been a great help.
Oh my God, you're on Audible. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. You guys are all super. We are all super women. So appreciate all the hard work we do. Renee, this was very insightful. My kids are much older, but still a lot of the tips, we tend, like I said earlier, we tend to lose ourselves. And, I wish I would have done it while my kids were little. I didn't know a lot of these supports were available. So we just got to keep pushing and we'll get to the finish line. I appreciate it. It was a great program. Thank you.
And I'm putting all the links up so you
Yeah,
guys can
thank you, Kim,
see.
for all your support. You're amazing.
Yeah, so but I also too, I'll send everybody the links. Everybody who was at the meeting, because I have their information, and I'll send them the links and all that stuff. And that's that's it. I mean,
Renee, where are your children now?
Oh, I'm tucked away in a little corner in my bedroom. They're all downstairs, so I can hear them, kind of pitter pattering here or there. Or, one was just yelling about how they're not tired, which is a divine indication of exactly how tired they are. So,
That's
just a day in life. I've actually been hiding up here for a little bit after I got home from school because I know that if they would see me, they would be, mommy. So I've just kind of been hiding. So I'll get to put a few of them to bed yet. So that'll be good. So
that's good.
this was a lot of fun. I appreciate talking to you guys. I think it's so awesome. I love that as people share their stories and the understanding of the need. I think I feel like sometimes it comes across as like needy or naggy, that like I need this, or very negative connotation, when it's really just like things look different. And so we need to shift our mindset, and mindset's so powerful in helping folks um, do better, like do better for the folks behind us. And so it's so cool to hear what you guys are doing, and it gives me so many ideas of how um, I can help other students. But also at the high school I work at, we have a student child learning center. And so I have student parents. I've worked with student parents for several years now, in their youth. And so it looks a little different and what their specific needs are. But it's nice to connect to them, mom to mom, and be able to be there for them. And I've held several babies while people came in to do speeches or to do work. And it's really been my delight. So it's cool. I've gathered a lot of ideas and information from everything that you guys have shared. So Katie, I think your work is so powerful, and I look forward to watching your journey through it. So that's cool.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. And this was it was wonderful. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak. I'm so glad that I found you and reached out to you. And
Thank you.
I feel like this was like a nice little, it was almost like a support group. tonight, right? Like a little support group. And
Yeah.
you know, to hear some of the words that the other students have said, and I feel like we all can relate to each other, even if our stories are a little different. We all have that common bond of being a parent and trying to go to school. And it's definitely, just being a student is not easy, but you know, juggling all the other factors that we try to juggle is really, it's a challenge for sure. Ashley, your words were really, they really touched me. It really was nice to hear, because you know, I've been in your shoes where I was like, am I really, why am I doing this? You know, can I really do it? And you know, it's, you know, you don't always have that cheering section that you need, you know, and you have to be your own cheerleader sometimes. So, you know, you just remember that there's other people. And I'm actually going to put my email in the chat. And if anybody ever wants to reach out, maybe we'll start a little parent support group on campus.
Yeah, the power of connection and familiarity is so powerful. So, and on top of it, y'all have been doing it through a pandemic, which is, I don't know how many of you guys have juggled closing daycares or quarantine this kid or isolate this kid, or like at top of juggling, we're now in the three-ring circus doing the juggling. So it's been it's been uh, it's been an interesting ride.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, the pandemic was just another little wrench thrown in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, in some ways I almost benefited from it, and I hate to say that, but it did make my life a little easier in certain ways, because I was able to teach through Zoom and do my job through Zoom. So I was actually home and taking my classes through the computer and everything. And I actually had more time to do. Now that I'm back in person, it's been a little more difficult, like trying to find time to do everything, where before I could just do it before Zoom. So I'm already on the computer. So, you know, just switch over to my class and do my classwork for a half hour before my next Zoom, you know? So it's interesting how things are starting to shift. But yeah, it's definitely, and I do like, out of the pandemic, I think that we all like being able to do something like this through WebEx instead of being an in-person event. I think for student parents, we probably had more attendance because of that, because you know, you could just pop on at home, you're already home, you know, and you don't have to worry about getting childcare to come to an event, you know. So there are some things that have some good that's come out of the pandemic.
Ava said the Ringling Mothers, greatest moms on earth, a little joke of all the things. I was like, okay, that's pretty funny. So
that's actually really cute.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's cute.
Well, thank you all for coming. And I guess we'll wrap it up. And the thing is that, you know, we're actually going to have, for Women's History Month, we are going to have the Bergen's Women's Committee, and we're going to be having a chat. We're going to kind of go roundtable conversation about leadership and women in leadership. Katie might be there. I know I didn't tell her yet, but okay. So, but you know, I'll email you guys who are on the list. And I'll let you guys know when our next event is. April, we're gonna have a poetry type thing. So we've got a lot of exciting things planned. They're all leadership oriented, but from different angles. Okay, so you guys have a great rest of your evening. Unless you want to say something else, Katie.
No, I think that's great. I think we're ending on a great note here.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And Renee, do you want anything else to say or no?
I just want to say thank you. I had a great time. I think another, like Katie said, a beautiful thing is that we can connect from across the country, and even, you know, we live in different parts of the country, but all very much experience the same thing. And so it's just a good reminder to reach out and to have conversations, to feel a little less alone. So this has been good for my soul. So I appreciate you inviting me, Katie, and I appreciate spending part of my evening with you all. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.